let's take a little bit of history. And let me not talk so much about banks, but let me talk about cell phones. Now this thing here that you see, that cell phone that looks really old-fashioned, all that, I can tell you that in 1999 this was all the rage. This was the best cell phone that you can get from a company called Nokia. Now Nokia still exists, right? But you may not have heard about them. You probably have never seen a Nokia phone in your lifetime. But let me tell you that in 2007 they controlled 49.4% of the share of devices. So they almost had half of the market in 2007. Now only 5 years later, they were down to 3%. From 50 to 3% in 5 years. This is a dramatic change, and there's not many markets where you actually see such a dramatic change. Now let's look at Blackberry. Again, most of you will not have seen a Blackberry. A Blackberry was effectively the first smartphone that existed. Not only that, it was also a Canadian company from out of Waterloo. They had basically early on almost 100% of the smartphone market. And they went down to now approximately 0%. Nobody uses Blackberries anymore. So why is that? Well, first of all, so Blackberry is a very, very interesting case, right? Because it was a very highly discussed company in Canada. I remember when I was here, basically you heard about Blackberry on the news every single day. And Blackberry had a particular view of why people like them, right? What do people valued about them, right? They valued the keyboard because it had a built-in keyboard, right? They valued it having high level of security, it being businessy, so not a toy. They thought it was cool and cutting edge. They also thought it's great that it's Canadian, and that it gave you independence from your desk, right? Because what this tool was, what a Blackberry was really, was the first time that you could take stuff with you from your desk without having a laptop. So now what people actually paid for, in my opinion, if you ask me, is none of these items. What they really cared about was mobile email. Right? So that's really the thing that people wanted. Now let's think about banks. If you ask banks, why do you think people want to deal with you? And why do you think that people want to be a customer? And they have any number of things like brand name, easy access to the branch, great product range, fair prices, great advice, latest tech, friendly tailors. They will tell you all of this. Honestly, I don't think that's true. If you ask me, what people value out of the bank is that you get the safekeeping of assets, you get moving your money around, and they give you loans when you need it, right? All of these things are in principle replaceable, if you ask me. In fact, actually, the branch location, all of that, the fact that people care about that still, is a failure in technology all by itself, right? So TD Bank a few years ago made all these advertisements of how much they extended their opening times so people could go to their bank. And I go in my head, I don't want to go to you. Why can't you just set up the bank in such a way that I don't have to visit you for all kinds of things? They never thought about it that way. And when I said that to them, they were actually really upset with me. Anyway, now, but the point is, if you think about how banks operate these days, is they move all data into cloud computing. They all do. Right? Why? Because AWS, Google, and Microsoft have much better cloud computing power and capacity than what any bank can have. And the bank is not a tech company. But then, if everything is in the cloud, right? So if your money is just data on a computer server somewhere in a data center of Google, why do you need the bank? What are they good for? And so this is the key insight, and this is, I think, very important when you think of banks and their role in the future, is you have to think about them, what it is that they actually do. So let's go back to the mobile phones. You see here, you see an old iPhone, sorry about that. And you see an old Samsung phone, also sorry about that. No Huawei phone, sorry. But when you think about these phones killed Blackberry, right? Why? What is it that they offered? It's not that the iPhone is, of course, is very pretty and you can strike it and everything. But the real power of the iPhone is not that it looks sleek and good. What the real power was this little icon there that you see, the App Store, right? The Google App Store and the Apple App Store. You can get a gazillion apps on your phone now that allow you to do any number of things. weather, banking, email, TikTok, all of these things are running on your phone. This is the power of the phone. You can do so many things now that you couldn't do before. And that, is essentially, if you think of what WeChat and Alipay are, in particular WeChat, what it is just the same thing. It's like a super operating system which allows, and I'm going to talk about this more, which provides a platform for different services. In particular, WeChat is a platform for insurance services, for rideshare services, and so on and so forth, and for payment services. So in other words, what the future is moving towards is there's a platform offered and people take products from a platform. And so for this reason, we have to talk about platforms a little bit, although not as much in this course, but certainly in the decentralized finance course. So what will the future of banking look like? Well, already there are major changes on the horizon. In the US, there's something called the Payment Services Directives 2, as is usually in Europe. Everything has nice acronyms and is very difficult to comprehend. All that it means is that providers that are not banks can provide payment services very soon. Actually, they already are legally allowed to do it, and they will be doing it in the future. Open banking is another thing, which means basically that you have the ability to determine who will be able to provide you services in the banking world. And you find many of these relationships and many of these developments will, in particular from the regular perspective, will speed up the change of the financial industry.